need to also know that when your motivation wanes, you should have a minimum baseline designated to tackle those items, just to, kind of take you through those trenches, those valley moments of your pursuit of that goal, especially for the long-term goals. Hi everyone, it's Tina with Picture It Personal Finance, where I ask you to picture your goal, plan to achieve it, and enjoy your success. Today we're talking about minimum baselines. This is an idea that was presented to me, I want to say 7 years ago maybe, and I heard about it the first time by a person named Brooke Castillo. I've mentioned her podcast in the past. It's called The Life Coach School, and I adore her. She is just a very articulate person who has so much energy and vibrancy to how she speaks that her podcast, even though it's usually just her speaking, it's highly engaging and it always gets me thinking through different aspects or techniques that I can apply to myself. So highly encourage checking out her podcast. I will link to, I might be able to find her podcast on minimum baselines, and if I can find that, I will link it above for you guys. That being said, what is a minimum baseline? For those of you who are in IT, you understand that baselines are a set of configurations or rules that you must align with. And so therefore a minimum baseline would be setting a minimum, a bare minimum of what you expect to align with, whether that be from an IT perspective, it might be a system, but for a human, for a person, it's going to be a behavior. What is the minimum behavior that you are willing to accept for yourself? Another way to think of it is, what is the minimum amount of effort that you're willing to put forward on a topic, but you must put that minimum amount forward every single day. This is how I think of minimum baselines, and I'm going to list a few out for you, but I want to tell you the reason this is such a powerful idea is that so frequently when you get started with something, you've got inspiration and motivation to kick things off, and you're really excited and you put forward a lot of vigor in the beginning. And then motivation wanes and you have to resort to discipline. This is where that idea of grit, doing things that you know you want to do on some deeper philosophical level, but there's no joy in doing it any longer. And so now you have to sort of muscle through to get it done. This is where a minimum baseline really serves you, because it goes hand in hand with this idea of if something's worth doing, it's worth doing badly, right? It's this idea of, if it's really important, for example, washing your face, if washing your face every day is really important, then some days you might get out the three-step process of the cleanser and then the toner and then the scrub or the moisturizer that comes at the end. But some days you might just, all you have is enough to wipe your face off with a makeup wipe. That would be a minimum baseline. The makeup wipe is your minimum baseline. You know you want to clean your face every day before bed. On the days that you have the energy and the motivation, you do the whole shebang. On other days, all the more you can do is that makeup wipe. That's your minimum baseline. And I apply this rule in my life to finances, I apply it to fitness, and I'm going to give you a few examples that are outside of finances, but in finances specifically, you might have a minimum baseline that says, for retirement savings, I am going to, at a minimum, always invest my employee match. For those of you who are in corporate jobs, you will typically see an offering of matching that could be anywhere from 1% to 6%. I mean, I heard of one guy who's got a 12% match, which just blew my mind. But a minimum baseline may be that I'm going to absolutely match whatever, or I'm going to invest whatever corporate will match, because that's giving away free money if I don't do that. Another great example for a minimum baseline is that no matter what, every week I'm going to put $20 in savings. It's not a huge amount, and some weeks you might find that you've had a little bit of a come up, or you spent a little bit less than what you anticipated on other aspects of your budget. And so instead of doing $20 that week, maybe you do $50, but you establish that minimum of what you're going to improve your savings. So For every goal that you have, you should have a plan on how to attack it, but you need to also know that when your motivation wanes, you should have a minimum baseline designated to tackle those items, just to, kind of take you through those trenches, those valley moments of your pursuit of that goal, especially for the long-term goals. There is a lot of evidence that when you're doing sprint goals, you can sustain yourself just by the nature of the short duration of the time frame. But if you are doing a long-term goal, that minimum baseline can really be a godsend to you, because you could always say, well, at least I did XYZ. All right, guys, so I think I've given you a great insight as to what minimum baselines are, and now I want to give you a few examples outside of finances so I can really nail the point home and maybe give you some ideas on minimum baselines that you can pursue in your own life. And the first one that I have listed is I want, and I am, writing 1 paragraph a day for my book. I am so excited about this book, but let's be honest, it's going to take some time to put it all together, and sometimes when I look at the full outline, I get overwhelmed by it. But if I can write at least 1 paragraph a day, then I know it will slowly get done over time. And what I found is that once I get started with that 1 paragraph, the thought will proceed into the next paragraph. So I will say that I'm only going to write 1 paragraph a day, but frequently find that I'm writing 3 or 4 paragraphs a day. So with that in mind, I will get to that goal over time and probably more quickly than I anticipated. Another one for me is exercise. I am perpetually struggling with my weight. So when it comes to exercise, I have a minimum baseline of taking a walk every day. My sister is trying to up my minimum baseline, and I really am grateful she is, because frankly, I could use it, which is to introduce the idea of 10, 10, and 10, which means 10 sit-ups, 10 push-ups, and 10 squats every day. I'm not fully committed to that one yet, because sometimes I still feel that desire to not take my walk, and since that's my absolute minimum baseline, I make myself do that every day. I am going to play with the 10, 10, 10 to see where I land with it, and hopefully it ends up being something that I can agree to myself and make a commitment to myself that that will be my minimum baseline. A point I want to say is, when you set a minimum baseline, you have got to stick with it. So don't pick a minimum baseline that is too pie in the sky. Like, really keep it simple. Going back to the book idea, if you're on a similar path and you don't think that you can do a paragraph a day, just say 1 sentence a day, because the most important, absolutely must stick to idea is that by establishing a minimum baseline, you are building trust in yourself. The truth is, if we look throughout our lives, the person who's let us down the most often is ourselves. There are so many times we've said, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to fail, I'm going to do this, I am going to succeed. And then we fall short of those things that we tell ourselves. Especially for someone like me who is a yo-yo dieter my whole life. I mean, how many times have I got to a low weight and said, I'm never going to be above this weight again, and then 7 months later, I'm back or above that weight. So because we have consistently let ourselves down throughout our life, the idea of the minimum baseline is not just this beautiful idea of setting a really small achievable goal so that you can make consistent progress toward your longer objectives, but it's also a way to reestablish trust with yourself. And I feel that's super important, especially for anyone who has had a darker past or has handled some things badly in their life. And frankly, that's every one of us. Every one of us has a dark spell, a shady spot where we wish we had handled things differently. Whenever that happens to us, we negate that trust with ourselves. We make ourselves feel more poorly about ourselves, and we need to counteract that by building trust. Just like a friendship where the trust is breached, it's not to say that you'll never trust that person again. I mean, maybe the breach was so significant you never will, but frequently, once the trust is breached, you can over time regain that trust through consistent positive behavior, and that is the crux of the minimum baseline. You want consistent positive behavior toward your goals so that you can increase the trust in yourself for yourself. All right, guys, last two, because I had 2 more ideas out here that I really wanted to bring up. One is chores. Oh my gosh, if you do not have a housekeeper or somebody who's taking care of your house for you, being able to say that I am going to do 2 chores every day. That's what I have. So maybe it's clean a toilet, maybe it's do the dusting, maybe it's put in a load of laundry, but I attempt every day to get 2 chores done around my house. That way, if I ever have a surprise visit from someone, I never feel like my house is in total chaos, and I can have them and welcome them into my home with confidence. And I know with COVID right now, that's not really happening, but still maintaining this minimum baseline gives me that peace of mind to know that my home is up to a standard that I like, and it's just more comforting, more peaceful. It makes me want to light a pumpkin spice candle and chillax. And then lastly, reading. I don't know about you, especially if you're watching alux.com. I'm so hooked on that channel right now. It's so inspiring to me. And I will tell you, they post a lot about people who read like a book a week. Like, these people are devouring books, and I love to read, and I am nowhere close to that. So I'm shooting for 2 books a month, and I'm on track. The last 3 months I've done it. This month I'm on track to do it again. I'm really sticking with it because I do want to up my reading and look for new topics. I mean, really the reason I'm trying to increase it now is I want to find other things to speak with you all about. I feel like it's my job to educate you as I'm educating myself. So I bring that one up because I know a lot of people are like, I'm going to read more this year, and they read these things about, I'm going to read, these people read a book a week, and I would say, pick a book every 2 months. Heck, pick a new book every 6 months. If you're picking a whopper of a book especially, set yourself a realistic goal, but make consistent progress toward it. All right, guys, that's what I've got for today. I love you all. Hope you are having a fabulous time right now with fall coming in. Gotta send you guys a picture of my pretty front porch. And that's it, guys. I'll see you in the next video.